You know, it's pretty much individual, but you know, there's so much popularity right now in being gluten-free and dairy-free and everything, and there's a reason for that. Gluten isn't always a direct allergy. What it does is it causes the intestine to produce a chemical called zonulin, and zonulin basically breaks down the tight junctions in the intestine, which causes food particles and other things to pass through the intestinal wall into the bloodstream. And the integrity of the intestinal wall is actually the same as the blood-brain barrier. So as the intestine starts breaking down, and that's why there's so much commonality between people with digestive disorders and having brain dysfunctions, because those chemicals, foods, and so forth will pass through the blood-brain barrier. So there's a tremendous amount of evidence right now about brain autoimmunity, which I think is very popular in the football world, where they know, for example, with brain injuries, that football players and other people who've had severe blows to the head actually develop really horrible diseases or illnesses later. And it's the same thing, that any organ or any area in the body, including the brain, that starts breaking down, what happens is it leaks its antigenic cells into the bloodstream, and the immune system attacks it, which is good to get rid of it out of the bloodstream. But then those antibodies go to that particular organ or part of the brain and start attacking it. So it's the same thing whether we're talking about gluten or we're talking about an infection or we're talking about a toxin. So I think the whole subject of autoimmunity is really interesting in this day and age, because pretty much anyone that has any kind of a major health issue that's showing up in an organ in their body has the beginning of an autoimmune disease. It's just that in Western medicine they only call it an autoimmune disease when it reaches its final stage and there's severe tissue destruction. But again, anytime an organ is under assault and it starts breaking down, it's a setup for autoimmunity, and that's a lot of what happens in the brain, even with bad foods. Other people have food reactions that are allergies. They're actual allergies where the immune system is responding to it directly, not just because it's creating leakage in the intestine.
So what you're saying is that a lot of this only once it becomes an autoimmune disease does it get a name, but many of us are on that path.
Exactly. There's 3 stages of autoimmunity. The first stage, usually there's no symptoms whatsoever, so a person doesn't even know what's going on. The second stage is you can have mild symptoms of something, so it's already starting to occur. And the third stage is what they recognize mostly in Western medicine, where there's a loss of something and, you know, something's really impaired. And that's when they put you on medication for it.
And what could those of us who don't want to go down that path that seems already well trodden, what can we do to avoid walking down that path?
Well, what I do with patients that other alternative practitioners do is we find out the cause of the problem. So you always have to, whatever health challenge a person has, it's not about treating the symptom, it's about treating the cause or eradicating the cause, which could be an infection, a chronic infection, it could be allergies, it could be toxic metals or toxins from the environment. I mean, there's a lot of literature on all of that right now, where it's a buildup of certain toxicities or chronic infections that the body can't deal with, and so you have to do whatever you can to get rid of it and restore the health of the organ through different supplements.